First of all, I would like to thank you to join my session and listening to this cool stuff from my point of view, and we will talk about it. And also thanks for organization and the people who select amazing sessions for this version of Devoxx Ukraine. It becomes more and more selective and provide a lot of things. Thanks for the theme of the Devoxx Ukraine about sustainability, because yes, nowadays we are facing a lot of problems and we need a solution for such cases, and we need to have a development such in such areas. And one of the most important thing is the choice of your language, because also you can think that your language is a green as well. So based on some research, we found that Java is the fourth green language, so for efficiency. So this is very nice, and I encourage you, yes, to invest more in this and in the future of sustainability and everything regarding this to save our Mother Earth. So let me go into the session. So the session is cool thing about cool things in Java. So this is about like Java 17 mainly and 16, because they are very related to each other. So I'm going to highlight almost the most changes and upgrades of the standard Java, including like something very nice, and I wish it will come soon to the language, primitive classes. You heard about sealed classes, records, vector API, the nice tools that we have nowadays with Java 17, the JVM, everything related to this. So my name is Mohamed Taman, and I'm working as a chief solutions architect for a company called Efortel. It's a telecommunication company based in Belgium. We have a very nice Ukrainian team, and we have most of the engineering team are in Bulgaria, and we have also here in Serbia, which is I'm based now. I'm Egyptian, but I'm based in Serbia. We have a very nice team as well, and we are distributed. So also you are welcome, because we have opening positions if you'd like. So the second thing that I love to speak and share, because I'm Java champion and also Oracle Groundbreaker ambassador. So whenever you would like to read, this is a few of my books that I wrote in the past, but I don't have time to write something new. But I wrote a lot of articles for Java Magazine and these kind of like Oracle, IBM. So those are always, when I'm going to share my presentation, you will find everything here are links. So those are links related to Java 16 and 17 that we are going to speak about, and from different Java champions views. And I was part of these also, so you can have more depth discussion and give the view of the features. So if you'd like to reach me, just easily search my name as Mohamed Taman, and when you have the presentation, you will get all these links. So let's jump into our presentation because of the time. What I would like to introduce for you today is we would like to check about very important features, because not everyone knows about it, but I almost know you could have like 80% knowledge about it, because we have now like almost 6 or 7 releases since GDK 9, but the terms are familiar a bit. We are going definitely to explore what the new feature in the language itself, in terms of language and JVM, and also related APIs changes and introductions. So it's improve our productivity as developers. Finally, because since Java 11, we start to remove stuff, we're introducing new stuff. When it comes to migration, we have to know in each version what we should consider when we migrate, and searching for alternatives. And finally, what the tools that we brought to you in order to make it very easy for you to work on your containerization or packaging or whatever it is. So let's deep dive to see all these cool features. But before, I would like to tell the relationship between GDK 16 and 17. It was like foundation, because as you know, GDK 16 is a feature cadence, release cadence. We call it like this whenever we didn't touch or reach LTS, long-term support. So we have always a feature release backed by 6 months support. So once the 6 months the 6 months just moved, we don't provide any support for that version because the continuity of the development will be on the next version. So it's very nice for lab, for trial, for migrations, for being the base migration, and this is why JDK 16, it's the base migration for 16. So if your product was working on JDK 16, it will work normally and smoothly on JDK 17. So the kind, and as we know before, like we have a plan to release LTS every 3 years, and the new changes is that LTS release will be published every 2 years, not 3 years. And there is a lot of debate about this, but for the maintainers of the libraries and everything, because it's going to be fast to adopt. But it's nice for companies to adopt because we are in release cadence. So if you are just migrating to the new release every time, you will not lose a lot, and you'll be ready for the next LTS. So let's check out Java's important features, something that make Java more sexier for us and give us the opportunity to try out the language. So what is behind preview feature, incubator module, deprecation, and feature marketed for removals? Because this is always the feature introduced since JDK 9. And this is something that we would like to know because it's enabled us to try out the new features, which is in preview, but it's not production ready yet. And we give the feedback. And based on our feedback, the Oracle engineers and the people working behind the JDK development are going to change for us. And it happens really when it was related to switch statement and expression. So the community matters. This is why we have this preview feature. Incubator module as the same. So let's go to see in a nutshell what is our those. I would just like also to give you an overview of the theme of the slide, legends here. So whenever you find something like this, it's link. So when you click it, you will go to the JEP related Java enhancement proposal related to this feature, and you can just read more about it. And here I would like always to also tell you since when this feature start to be available. So preview feature, yes, yeah, it was an idea definitely when we switched to module system Java 9, but it started introduction since JDK 12 by switch expressions. So it's a preview feature is like a new, we would like to introduce a new feature in the language or feature in the VM virtual machine or something related. And also it could be combined with some API related. So something like text block. When we introduce text block inside the Java language as a feature, it has to have changes in the string class. So we have to introduce also some annotations and tell you that if you use this related methods also, it's part of the preview features. So the preview feature might involve like, yes, I told you, preview language features, some preview features for the virtual machine, and also it will touch sometimes the classes for us. So how can I enable this? To be honest, I always use the preview features in my labs and my GitHub applications. I use it because I would like to train my team always on the new features, even if there is a slight change. But I didn't notice there is a very big changes that break the production or the code. So if you are using JShell, definitely you can pass -- enable preview on the command line. If you are using Maven or Gradle, you can have this as an argument variable for Maven compiler plugin. If you are definitely favorite IDE. In my case here, I'm using IntelliJ IDEA, and then you can use the base project SDK and then the project language level. So you always have, since JDK 12, you have these two levels, either production level, the normal SDK, or preview features if you have chosen from 16 and 16. So if it's 17, you will find two versions, preview features, and it will list all the features that you are going to try. And this is how you enable the preview features for you. And someone asks me before, like, but sometimes it might introduce some problems and breaking changes, but it's under your control because it will never be enabled. It's disabled by default, and it's enabled when you provide the switch, and that's it. Incubator Module, the same concept, but it's only for APIs. So it doesn't have any relation with JVM or Java language feature or something like this. It's just Incubator Module. It's related to API or tool that it's non-trivial size of work and under development and needs some evaluation and re-enhancement. And we done something like this for HTTP and WebSocket client module introduced in JDK 9 under Incubator module called jdk.incubator.http client when we have 2 reviews in JDK 10 and 9, and then we see it's stable enough, it's provide all the use cases for the client and our users, then okay, let's move it to production in JDK 11 under the module java.net.http. So any incubator modules should be prefixed with jdk.incubator and then the module name. And this is also when you try to use it, you will get warnings from the compiler that you are using something in Incubator module, so you don't have to rely on it, or might be changes in the future. So the same like preview features. So enhanced deprecation, since Java 1.2, we are deprecating a lot of stuff and we never remove, and this has become really backward compatibility and issues because you cannot prevent people from using the deprecated methods or classes or APIs or whatever it is. And since Java 9 and specifically 11, the first LTS, we start really to remove stuff. This is why we are taking care of this, and to leverage this for the tools and the static analysis tool and everything, we have introduced 2 more fields like for removal and sense, and in deprecation annotation. And don't confuse sense here with the sense in Java documentation, because in Java documentation, when you document class and you can provide sense, it means sense when it's this feature introduced. And sense for deprecation means when it will be, in which version it will be removed, or since when it is start to be deprecated and will be marked for removal. Marked for removal means we are going to remove this feature from now on in the future. And usually it takes like 2 to 3 releases to remove the feature completely after like people getting used to see what is the alternatives. So those are the most important features of the language that we are adopting in order to get the feedback and show you what we are working on, so you can try on your lab and train your team, train your hands with getting all the information about the features and everything ahead. So now let's go to explore new language features, and I believe there is a lot of people talking about this, but this is something nice to see with some cases. So let's explore new language features, and those are really that we goes to our goal toward Java to be more concise and less verbose, as everyone sees. Like if you would like to talk about record, this is the JEP is related, the last one, Java enhancement proposal 395, and the first preview feature, it was JDK 14, second preview feature, it was in JDK 15, and it's really finalized in JDK 16. So records now are on production, and the intention of the record, it's a common complaint, about Java. It's very verbose and too much ceremony, you write too much. Yes, and whenever we are writing, it means we produce errors. So we would like to take care of all of this. Someone will say like, I can use Lombok. We used Lombok long time ago for this, but Lombok is a nice for use cases, yes, but and we try to introduce record because it's a very big common case that we have immutable data carriers and for a handful of values and like tuples, and we need to move on these data carriers from layer to layer, or just to receive some data from the client, populate some immutable list, and then populate this kind of record or being, let's call it like this, like before, and then push it to the database or something like that. It's just immutable, and I don't need to change the data coming from the client or going to the client. And why I have to write all of this ceremony about low-level, repetitive, error-prone code like constructors, accessors, equal, method, hash code, toString, and if you change it just one, a field, you have to change all of this. Like, why not? It's automatically produced for us. So let's take an example for very and tiny class like point, which is carries only X and Y. And I would like to make it like record immutable. So there is no setters, only getters. And here it is. You have to write the class, declare the variables, have your own initialization point, which is constructor. You have your getters here without get, because I don't need set. And I have to write equal method if I would like to have these in comparator or something for comparison. Hash code is very important as well, and toString for debugging purpose and to know what's inside this class at what values it represents. So this is a lot of ceremony, and with record, as you can, by reducing all of this, you can just write it like this, the one line. And where are the others? There is a lot that created for you under the hood. And one thing that you have to always understand and remember, that records are always finals. So you cannot override it. So it's immutable by nature. And what if I would like to override some constructor? So we have two kinds of constructor, canonical one, and this is when you would like to do some logic on your input instance field and then reassign them the value. So you use canonical. But if you would like just curious about checking about the values, you can use the compact profile. So you don't have to provide, as you can see here, the argument for all the instance variable here just for checking, and that's it, because you are checking. So it's assume I know what is X and I know what is Y, and that's it. It's very small and concise. Also, since GDK 16, we have now like interfaces, local records. What does it mean? Like local record classes. So you can declare record as a local for class, excuse me, and also inside method. So what the benefit? It's always come into benefit when you have like lambda expression and you have a list and you're doing a lot of conversion. You would like to do a lot of computation, aggregations, and then you would like to get back. So you don't have to create external entity like bean or something to just being intermediate computation like here. If you can see in this example, I have to find the top merchants based on their sales in a month. So I have the list of merchants and I have the months, and they would like to create this. So I have to have intermediate calculation for each month and the sales it has. Then I do this calculation and by comparison. So instead of creating bean outside and just use it for intermediate, but it's still standalone construct, which is not used by something. So why not we have something like this? So we are returning the stream, we do the mapping here, we start to use our construct to do this compute sales based on the months and the merchant sales. Then I sorted them out and then mapped them back to the list of merchant based of who's the top, and then I collect toString. One nice thing also we will talk about that when you collect here, you don't have to use collectors toString anymore. ToList, you can use .ToList immediately. We will talk about this. So local record is very, very nice. And especially when people who's working with lambda expressions and aggregations most of the time. We cannot use record, by the way, as entity beans. This is what was of the questions previously also I would like to address. So entity beans should have default constructor should have also. You can use Lombok at that time. It couldn't be final because sometimes for proxies and things. So you use Lombok with entity beans. So don't declare entity bean GPA entities as records. You can declare the views or aggregation as a record if you are doing projection. Yes, this is the case, but it's not the case for everything. I use record for all my exposure as a REST API, as a request and response. So it's very nice to to work with Jackson serialization, XML, or JSON based. Another nice feature, pattern matching for instance of. We have a lot of enhancement in this. So, and this is allow a common logic in program, namely conditional extraction of component from object to be expressed more concisely and safely. Let's see here. So if we have something like this, like return all instance of, we would like to check if this object is instance of case insensitive string, and if it's yes, please do casting, and based on the casting, then do some other computation. It's like it's unnecessary casting, to by the way. So we have equal could be concisely written like this. I can have the first check if the O really is instance of case insensitive, then extract and cast it to that object and put it in this variable, which is CIS or whatever the name you give, and then you can use it immediately for the checking or business logic. So this is very nice. So the common use case, like something like this, if we get back to the point class, and we would like to write equal methods. So yeah, we checking if it's not instance of point, definitely return false. If it is, make the extraction, make the comparison based on the field. This is very deep equal, and then it could be simplified to this version. So if really or instance of point, it will say yes or no. If it's yes, then it will be casted to point and assign it to others, and I can use others immediately. So this is very nice feature to speak about. And we have pattern matching also for switch. So if we have this capability of casting, switch statement is really good candidate to have it in a case label. So, you know, we have sometimes in formatters, if you would like to format some string based on the type of the object, it's like a string.formatter, you know, method. So it should check first, check first what is the object type, then to use the most relevant switch for that. So we are using here if else, and we are doing the checks here like, and then yes, we are using instance of pattern matching feature, but this is also verbose, and why not to use the most efficient than if else switch statement. So it could be rewritten now like this. So we can use switch, and switch will take the capability to check if this object, if it's integer instance, and then assign it to I and do whatever you like, also long and double. So you can use it effectively with switch. It will be more concise, more readable, as you can see. Something else, sometimes like some people say like, okay, we have null cases, we have to check about it because it's very important, and this becomes odd. You have a nice switch statement here, but you extracted the code to be outside. Like, no, we enhance it to be also, we can, in the case label, switch could check about the nullability, and if it's yes, it will not throw null pointer exception. It will handle and give you some options, and this is very, very nice and handy. And also it could be handled as any kind of other classes, as normally if you would like to group it with some other case labels. And definitely if we have it like this pattern matching, it works also with sealed classes. Why? Because in sealed classes we have limitation. We know our boundaries. If we say that interface is permitting only those classes, when I take it to switch expression, it's very easy to know what is the boundaries. You don't have to provide even the default method for the switch case because we have limits. It's not like enums. Enums you have to have default because I don't know when you can provide more values inside. So definitely the switch statement, if you have this hierarchy of record, and you see that I used also record because why? It's final by default, as I told you, implicitly final. So it could be good candidate also record of sealed classes. And then I can make the comparison using switch easily like this. If case A, do this extraction and return 1, 2, 3, whatever the case you have. Sealed classes, because we just mentioned them and they are very powerful. It's it's a pattern that really will allow you more control and permission and authorization over your API. It's really provide you open closed principle. It's open for extension, closed for modification. So this is really allow us to, instead of using public access modifiers and all of these kind of things, it's a declarative way to then access modifiers to restrict the usage, which is sometimes doesn't work efficiently if you'd like to hide some usage, or even, and I would like that construct to be public, to be used outside, but not modified by any other object that I didn't allow or permit. So this is more controllable. So if you take an example of the sealed class called shape, the sealed class could be interface, abstract class, or whatever it is. And then you say is like, I'm going to permit only circle, rectangle, square, and weird shape, just in case to extend me as a shape, no one else. If you tried any other object or class extend shape, you will get compilation error. So if you would like to close it for modification and extension, you can just declare the extended class that you permitted as a final, or you just become a record. And then if you would like to say that I would like to permit more extension for specifically this class of type rectangle of type shape, you can say, okay, this is also sealed. I am allowing to have 2 more classes. That's it for rectangle, like transparent one and filled rectangle. And they also should be final classes because this is the hierarchy. And then you can say, okay, square extend shape, and there is no more squares. And okay, you need to have your own weird shape or definition of another shape, but to follow the shape construct and signatures and methods and everything, okay, you can have it, but it should be non-sealed class weird extend shapes, and you can do whatever it is. It means that weird shape could be extended more and more, but not the others. So we have a more control and authority over our APIs. So I think that yes, sorry. Sealed classes, I would like to continue that since GDK, and this is finalized in GDK 17, by the way, so we have it in production ready, and we can use also, see this case, we have interface expression, and we are permitting constant expression plus expression, time expression, all of this, and yeah, I'm declaring all of them as a final and public and classes and that. So we can simplify it because sealing and record classes are really friends and they are work well together. So we can reconstruct it like this. Yeah, it's a sealed interface, and I can change as public record, and I provide all the constructs here because it's finally, it seems it's data carrier for us, and there is no more extension. So this is how we can enhance it. So the combination of sealed classes and record classes is sometimes referred as algebraic data types. Record classes allow us to express product types, and sealed classes allow us to express sum of types. Some enhancement happen and fixation. If you sometimes you wrote code like this, it's under 6 stage GDK 16, it will not work anymore because it's a C style array declaration. It will give you error and you cannot write it anymore. It should be after end, and this is kind of like making the Java language is aligned together. So some other also bug, it was there. If you can define local interface, yes, we know that we can define local interfaces, but annotation is a special kind of local interfaces, and it was allowed, and nowadays it's not allowed, and you will get this error if you try to do this anymore because it's not relevant to have annotation declared inside because we use it over the types always. So those are more like all the changes happen to the compiler, the language, the compiler, and everything. Then now let's go to explore improved language APIs. And here we have a very nice API that called formatters, and this is provide like time definition than more than AM and PM. And we sometimes in our APIs in front end especially, and sometimes in back end. I would like to express this in a daytime, not just AM and PM. So easily, as you know, I like always to to play with preview features. So I'm importing date and time formatter. We have it before, and then import local time, and then I say date time formatter of pattern B, and then format this local time now. And based on your time, it's at my time when I was writing this, it was at night, so it will give you at night, in the evening or in the morning. So yeah, this is very nice addition to have. I mentioned this before, stream to list directly. So if we have a construct like this, we always try to collect the result into list, and then we have to use collectors to list. And nowadays we have a shortcut to list immediately. You don't have to use collectors anymore. So it's a shortcut, but it's more efficient than the normal collector, and it has nothing to do with collector. It's not internally using collect to. It's not like a shortcut, but this is more enhanced, especially if your result of the stream is to more optimal and allocate less memory. And we use in our company now, we are trying to migrate to some new framework like Spring. And also I demanded all the new development using GDK 17. And we have part of the billing system that it's called aggregation, that read the calls in order to make calculations. And calls per second or per milliseconds happening every second for different customers. So we need a list consumption. It's open stream, and we're trying to do aggregation. So yes, to list here, it will be very, very beneficial to use it. So warnings for value-based classes. This is amazing. Then finally, we will have something like value-based classes is an introduction to primitive over collections or over generics even. Sometimes people ask like when we will have, this is not related to each other, but it's all about how we can introduce primitive for generics. It's the same like providing primitive for data collections, like collections framework. So value-based classes came here in any kind of class that only hold values, and we do a lot of ceremony of creation, synchronization, taking care for the entity because it's sensitive. Nobody can change it, but it might. So now we are introducing this. One of the most candidate is wrapper classes, which is integer, long, float, double, whatever it is. And if you tried really now to use it to construct integer with the constructor or value of, you will get this warning. And this has been deprecated and marked for removal. Oh, wow, how can I do it? Just do it like this, auto-boxing and unboxing. This is a normal way, as if you are assigning primitive data types. And what we will get from this is part of Project Valhalla, and this is pursuing a significant enhancement of Java programming model in form of primitive classes. Okay, so what we can get benefit? Yes, when running on the future Java releases, this will and doing migration, and then you can use these classes, use equal for identity check, and instead of dot equal method, because they are meant to be value-based classes. It's not anymore just normal objects. And also you don't have to create it using value of or the constructor, because you will get linkage error, because we are going to remove all of this. And finally, you don't have to synchronize because they are value-based. So there is no thread are going to change it because it doesn't have any kind of implicit references. This is very nice addition, and it just not. If you went to the JEP 390, you will not just only find wrapper classes. This is the most famous, example, but you will find it for optional integer-based. A lot of communication packages like files, anything that could be represented, it will have a notation value-based, and the compiler will really deal with it in a private, in a special case. This is very nice. I see it. It's very nice addition. It doesn't have anything to do with it as a development, but you have to know it. It's the way that now your code or your, Java uses now IBC communication when it comes to Linux and Unix domains to intercommunicate systems together, like service to service, instead of inter-process communication, which was Windows protocol before, based on the Internet protocol and addresses of the port numbers. So the new domain here is very nice because it relies on the file system passes rather than, as I told you, IP and ports. And this is more efficient and secure. And imagine that you are running instead of going to TCP IP loopback and checking, where are you based on the local machine, that let me communicate to you. So if you have 2 Docker or 3-4 Docker, or your Kubernetes is running in the local one machine, and you're firing many Dockers instances, and they would like to communicate, it will be more faster and secure and efficient because there is no external communication happening or going out and get back as a loopback. So this is very nice addition, provide security, provide efficiency out of the box for you. And if you are curious about what the changes, you can see that those are the classes that has been changed in the GDK in order to support this feature. Strongly encapsulated GDK, yes. The drama and trauma about MICS unsafe class and package that was used since long time by maintainers of the libraries because allocation of the memory, talking to the system, it's meant to be internal GDK APIs, but it was used because the the weakness of the encapsulation before Java 9 we provide. But now, as we going on, we are going to strengthen this by encapsulating GDK internal by default, so you will get access if you're trying to use such things. So this is some hints for migration, and if you'd like to check about it, I'm giving just go for this purpose and what you can do in order to avoid and use some tools to switch to alternative to these classes. Finally, we have migrated since DDK 16. The final migration happens, and now you can find GDK, and all the Open GDK is on GitHub, as it becomes almost de facto repository for all the projects. So you can contribute, you can read, you can go to open bugs, read what enhancement, everything. It's public. You don't have to go anymore for some internal Merkle, APIs and platforms. So, and this was updated to have GDK 11, and later on we had the plan, and it was part of Project Sakara. And foreign linker API. Now it was like Incubator module in GDK 16, and this is a very nice addition. And this is about talking about foreign memory API, and will considerably simplify the error-prone process of binding to native library. Means, do you remember JNI, Java Native interface, when we would like to to call some C++ libraries or external programming language, and we have a lot of overhead of writing, taking care of security issues and error-prone, and of this kind of native library. Now this API is replacing with more enhancement and secure way of accessing based on all the architecture and C libraries available out there. So in terms of performance, yes, foreign linker API should provide performance that is comparable to or better than Java native interfaces. So this is good news if you'd like to have. This is, for me, to be honest, this one foreign memory access API, this is one of the best additions out of the box we will have inside the GDK. And it has in GDK 16, this is the third because it's very important. And to be honest, this is allow Java program to safely access foreign memory outside Java heap. So if you have cache, you have big data project that you are reading a lot of large files, and you don't want to take this into the heap to get out of memory for your application or to reallocate more, you can use your foreign memory to do this job, and that's it. So, and this is how they change it. So I will give you some examples, like, many Java programming using this access foreign memory. By the way, it's not just a new addition or new idea. It was already before for some, project like Ignite, MapDB, Memcache, Lucent, and even Netty application server use it in byte buffer API. By doing so, what they can do, they avoid the cost of unpredictability associated with garbage collection, especially when maintain large caches or files in memory. They can share memory across multiple processes. This is very important if you'd like to have some computation and other process to share the same memory to read. And this is very easy, and it allows them, and also serialize and deserialize memory content by mapping files into memories, like mmap, for example. So this API now becomes de facto inside the GDK. So we are allowed to do all of this from inside the GDK. Vector API for people who is interested in doing vector computation, and it provides a very nice and concise API to express a range of vector computation based on a lot of ranges of architecture, either x64 or A architecture 64 bit for computation, and it provides more memory. Elastic Metaspace, it's a capability, and it's provide more enhancement and performance for your JVM without your touch or tweaking, but you have to know about it, because this is really return unused hotspot VM classes metadata, which is when you deallocate classes, you don't have to still have their metadata definition for inside the hotspot memory, and then we can reduce all of this and reduce also the Metaspace footprint and simplify the Metaspace code to reduce the maintenance code. So this will make it faster loading of class of the libraries in the class loader, and definitely avoid class overhead and reduce it. And this is how it's implemented and get it for us. And sometimes if you are not using some classes, it will be lazy loaded and on demand. So you will avoid a lot of and imagine if you are running just on Java 17 your services or something, you will notice a really good startup timing than the previous GDKs when you start your Docker or application runtime. Nice. Those all the most of the new features that we have as an improved language and language API. Let's say goodbye for some things, because if you are going to migrate to Java 16 or 17, we have to know about this. We have removed RMI activation because it's not part of JDK anymore, and any other work need to be done. It's related to Java Beans Activation Framework, JAF, which is later renamed to Jakarta Activation as a part of Eclipse EE for J intuitives. Java Beans Activation, Jakarta Activation technology are completely unrelated to RMI by any means, and they are unaffected by removal of RMI, because RMI becomes old and there is no maintenance anymore for that. We have deprecated finally for removal, because it was deprecated. There is no applet anymore, and now it's going to be removed because there is no other browsers supporting anymore. We have removed ahead of time and JET compilers from current GDKs, and if you would like to play and do some work with this kind of compiler, you have Graal VM, which include all of these kind of AOT or JET compilation can use Graal VM. And significant removal and deprecation we have disabled definitely TLS, because we are always updating towards security, and we have disabled this in favor to introduce 1.2 and 1.3 TLS, and we already introduced them. We have removed all the certificate with 1024-bit keys, key store, CA certs, because it becomes weak, and we introducing more stronger. And we have removed also legacy elliptic curve the Sun EC provide no longer support, because there is no support, there is no meaning to stay and maintaining it. And now you can use third party for this. Alternative. Part of signal chaining API are deprecated, yes, because it's already deprecated and not used anymore inside Linux. So it's introduced in JDK 1.4. So there is no more need for just supporting and providing inside the API. So we are also coping with changes with operating systems, communication and security and everything. And also we have terminally deprecated thread group stop, destroy, is destroyable, set daemon, and is daemon methods, because they were deprecated since Java 1.2. But now the terminally are deprecated and will be removed in the future releases. The tracing flag are obsolete and must be replaced with unified logging equivalent. So those are just instead of using this kind of GVM flags, which is you might feel it is like related to VM. No, it's logging. So we have to provide unified logging API equivalent to make it more clearer and more easier to use. Finally, let's see the new tools that we provide. Packaging. Now you don't have to have third-party packaging tool in order to package your application to be self-content and published. So we have gpackage, and this is package self-content Java application and support native packaging as well for end user as a natural installation experience. So if you are running on Windows, you can package your application as MSI or .exe. If you are running on Mac OS, you have package and DMG. Definitely on Linux, you have deb and RMB. So by default, as I would like just a note, it's produced the package in the format most appropriate to the operating system you are running on, or which is your application is running. And also, let's say that I would like to have to package my app, which is the main.jar, and I would like to package it, to give it a name, my app, and give the input, the library associated with this jar if it's reading from third-party libraries. And the main jar for me here is the main.jar as a starting point. And the main.jar include the starting up class for my application, which is the main class, which contain public void main method. So, and if I just run this, if I'm running on Windows, it will produce MSI, Mac OS package or DMG, and Linux is deb. But what if I would like to control the type? You have the -- type, and you can provide which type you would like to extract. This is very important when you are running this inside Jenkins to produce different packaging, so you can switch to the types immediately from the same host machine. And if you are not sure, you would like to explicitly specify which class is the main class for you, you can use -- main class and provide it with this just command, append it to it, and everything will work for you. We have now Alpine Linux port, which is really will reduce the size of your package, especially if you are using Docker, and it will be less than 6 megabytes plus the size of your application. And this is very nice. If also you use JLinker tool to just create your application, just runtime, customized runtime for your application, containerize it, it will be really a very tiny, small size application, and it's really applicable for Docker and Docker, which is running on cloud environments. And we have similar for Windows, so we are supporting server class architecture, so we have a port for that, as well as we have for macOS, the new architecture, we have port for that, so we are supporting all the major operating systems and all the type of operating system that you can imagine. So Java runs everywhere and support anywhere. And finally, I would like to say thank you. That's all from my side. And if you would like to have more, discussion and everything, we will move to our discussion platform to join.
Thank you, Mohamed.